I was a worker bee. I thought this is what you do. You get the title, you get the salary, you work your way up. And then I got laid off. I wasn't super concerned at first until 400 job rejections. I was at my friend's house and she's like, I got this super junky table. I think I'm just going to throw it away. I looked at that table. It was a piece of crap. And I saw myself. I feel how that table looks. I completely made over that table. That's really where it began. And I just felt this level of satisfaction that I hadn't felt like ever. I can do work that's meaningful, that's more aligned with who I am, and just build a life that actually leans into something. So when I'm on my deathbed, I'm not saying, I wish I wouldn't have worked so much. I could say, wow, I really love the life that I lived and I loved every second of it.
What would you change about your life if the last words someone you loved said were, I wish I hadn't worked so much? Today, I talk with Jenny Dempsey, the founder of San Diego Furniture Flipper, about grief, layoffs, creativity, and how redefining success sometimes starts in the most unexpected places. This is Success Rewritten, and I'm your host, Emily Lomenzo-Washkovic. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today.
Emily, oh my gosh, thank you for having me here. This is so cool.
We're very excited to dig into your story. But to kick us off, why don't you just tell a little bit about yourself? Who are you as a person and what is the most important to you these days in your life?
Awesome. Well, I am Jenny Dempsey here in San Diego, California, and my neighbors know me as San Diego Furniture Flipper. They'll be walking their dogs in the neighborhood and they'll see a junky piece of furniture on the corner and they'll think of me. And it's such an honor. And then I'll get text messages of like, oh my gosh, this table is a piece of crap. Totally thought of you. And then I'll get in my car and I'll go pick it up and I'll give it a makeover. And that's really, who I am right now. There's a lot more to it. Okay, we'll get into all of that. But yeah, I love dogs. I love hot yoga. I love plants. And I also love rescuing junky furniture and giving it a second chance. And I didn't mean for that to rhyme. That just happened.
That was amazing. And let me just say, that is like the most modest way to put what you do, because I was not only watching videos and clips, but I think there's, so much today where we think if we need something, we just go buy it at the store, when in reality, there's all this furniture around us that has life and has maybe lived a lot of life, and you can completely rehab it and make it look different. Just tell us a little bit about your journey and how did that become something you're interested in? Tell us about the skill side of this passion of yours.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'll just start by saying I knew nothing about this. I didn't know power tools. I didn't know there was different kinds of wood stain. I didn't know anything about this, nor did I ever plan to go into this. I loved the shows. Have you ever watched Flea Market Flip or, different things I love shows like that. They were always of interest, but it was cool to watch it. Not something I ever saw myself doing. So, I was working in the tech world. Honestly, I startup tech, customer experience jobs. That was my identity. That's really all I thought I was good at. I love to sing and play guitar. And sometimes I'd bring my guitar to business conferences and sing cheesy little songs. So I'd weave it in, but honestly, work came first. And I was a worker bee. I thought this is what you do. You get the title, you get the salary, you work your way up. And then I got laid off. And, I got laid off and I could not freaking find a new job. It was insane. If you work in the tech world, this may resonate with you. You put your resume in, you either don't hear anything back, you're completely ghosted, or you just get those auto rejections because it's some AI tool running through. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally wrote this by hand, or I hired someone to do my resume, or, whatever it was. And I was just still getting rejection after rejection. And then one day I was at my friend's house and I was really depressed because work was my identity, and who the heck am I if I don't have a job? And so we were in her basement and she's like, I got this super junky table. I think I'm just going to throw it away. I found it in the alley. And I do not know. This is one of those weird moments where I still can't explain this, but I looked at that table. It was a piece of crap, absolute piece of crap. I looked at it. It was old and it had paint and whatever other types of stuff stuck on it. Who knows? And I saw myself. I said, I feel how that table looks. someone was going to throw that table away. It looked like it's, piece of junk, unwanted. And I literally felt like how that table looked. And I asked my friend, can I take it? I'll take it from you. Not knowing anything about anything of how to fix these things up. But because I had been watching those shows for so long, even before the layoff, I just was like, I don't know, maybe I need to do something with my hands to get off the computer for a bit. And I took it and I binged a bunch of YouTube videos, and I DM'd other furniture flippers that I found on Instagram and was like, hey, what should I do with this? And I completely made over that table to the day where it's still a coffee table in our house today. And this was in early 2023. And so that's really where it began. And I just felt this level of satisfaction that I hadn't felt like ever. It was a way of seeing like success right in front of you. Like, it was a lot of hard work. There were a lot of mistakes made. It was very messy. I had paint stuck in my hair for weeks. It wasn't like a pretty thing, but it became something that I was like, oh, this feels like I'm healing this table. Oh, wait, I'm also kind of like healing this part of myself. And so as I'm doing all this job application BS, and getting all these rejections, it's like the furniture fairies just started raining down on our neighborhood. There were pieces of furniture everywhere. Like, I was just like, did I not see this before? Or is this like, and I just started picking things up. I'd be on a walk with my dog and I'd have his leash in one hand and a table on the other hand, walking down the street. And my neighbors would be like, what in the world is this girl doing? And I just started taking it in. And then I started to get messages from friends who were like, oh, I have this too. Or I'm going to throw this way. Do you want it? Or can you fix this up for me? That was when things started to change. And I realized, oh my gosh, like, not only is this something that I can do to help myself right now, it's something that I can do to contribute to others. And as a, customer service background and person, like, that means a lot to me. And so I started to take in client projects and it just started taking off. I found a couple contract roles during this time too that were very, very part-time, did not pay that well. I got my rent covered, it was the bare bones, but it was something that I was realizing that I started to build on the side with this furniture business. And I really didn't see it turning into anything more than like, I'm doing some projects right now until I find a job. But things just continued to lean in a direction where I was like, I don't think I can work the same way that I ever did before. And not to derail all of this, but 6 months before I got laid off, my dad passed away. And when he was on his deathbed, it was just me in the hospital room sitting next to him. It was very sudden. It wasn't something that was planned. Like, he wasn't sick. Like, it's just unfortunate thing that happened. And he was laying on his deathbed, and I was holding his hand, and he was sleeping. And then he wakes up and he looks up at me and he's like, I wish I wouldn't have worked so much. And what's crazy is that I learned my work ethic that, titles and salary and this, and you work hard and you say yes every opportunity, from my dad. And my parents were divorced. I really didn't see him that much as a kid. There was a lot going on. So him saying that felt like it just kind of like broke my mindset, but I didn't get it until I got laid off, until I started to go in a direction where I'm like working with my hands and seeing the success in a way where I didn't realize how this creative entrepreneurial person who was just wanting to burst out. And so with all of this kind of like crashing down on my mind, my whole entire mindset started to pivot. My whole my soul, it sounds so cheesy, and I'm not like this biggest woo-woo person, but I just feel like it was so much on this soul level that I started to feel this way. And I was like, I know I can't go back to chasing titles. That's not going to define, talk about success. That's not success for me anymore. That's not the way I want to live my life. I can show up and I can do work that's meaningful, that's more aligned with who I am, this creative person that I used to stuff down and say, you're not good enough. And just build a life that actually leans into something. So when I'm on my deathbed, I'm not saying, I wish I wouldn't have worked so much. I could say, wow, I really love the life that I lived and I loved every second of it. And yeah. Whew.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I was saying in an interview earlier today, like, the one thing I hate about this show is that it really reflects like the worst things that can happen to people, then like shift their whole mindset in this like amazing direction. But you still have this like horrible thing that you're having to navigate. And, you know, the loss of someone as close to you as a parent is like very impactful on just like how you show up in the world, you know? So I just thank you for sharing that. And I think a lot more people go through that, but don't really go through it. You know, they just kind of are trying to navigate every day. And it is one of those things where we all have a lot more empathy for the other people than we know, because you don't know what everyone's going through.
It's so true. You never know what someone else is going through. And, you know, these jobs that I was applying for, they had no idea my dad had died, or they didn't, you know, I got laid off, or, I mean, my mom passed away in 2015. And so I had already lost a parent, and it was already, I mean, I wasn't there when my mom passed. I was not as, you know, part of her life at that time. And she had wanted to start an animal rescue, and she wanted to do all of these really big things, but she really struggled and took on too much. And it kind of unfortunately cost a significant amount of her energy and livelihood. And so having that already on my heart, and also didn't take any bereavement leave when she passed away. I just thought, oh, you just get back into it. You just stay distracted. You just keep going. But when my dad left, it was very different. It was very much like, I'm going to take that bereavement leave. I am going to consider his last words. I'm going to think and reflect on his life, because things feel different now, and loss has a way of sneaking up on us. And so grieving my dad's death was also grieving my mom's death, and grieving a loss of a job, and trying to figure out how I'm going to pay my bills and what I'm going to do.
And that's one of those things. It's like, I never want to pass judgment on how someone grieves, because there are so many other factors that influence like how you can grieve. But I do think the more we openly talk about it, the more it makes space for people to share that stuff. Because, you know, something I've learned over time is like, the person going through that phase of loss is thinking about it a lot, you know? And so the people around them bringing it up or trying to support them, it's not like you're gonna, you know, make them think of it more. That's something that they're experiencing and having to walk through everything they're doing with that, like on top of them as a part of that experience. And so if you are going through a loss, or anyone that you know, I think it's important to just, you know, be there. And I guess that looks different for different people, but I think sharing how you navigated it and made space for it can sometimes give people that permission slip to do it themselves.
Yes, so true. And so many of us need that permission slip, because we question ourselves, we gaslight ourselves. We just think, oh, we just got to get back into it. We just got to figure it out. We got to, you know, just keep moving. And it's like, okay, like it's different for everybody, and different wherever you are in your life in that moment. There's so many, you know, variables to it. But if this can give someone permission to grieve, but also knowing that grief doesn't just end like a week after the person passes away. I mean, what is it? It's 2026. My dad passed away in early 2022. Actually, it'll, the 19th of March. So it's just rather like, it's still there. You know, there's still things that we all are navigating. Grief is a weird little creature.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. Okay. I feel like we need to talk about this layoff period. I was just laid off in November after 11 years at a tech company. And for me, it was such a weird thing, because like I knew how privileged I was with my job. Like I was fully remote since the pandemic, making very good money, but living in my hometown, like full autonomy over my schedule. You know, there was all these things about the job that were amazing. And I probably wouldn't have ever left unless someone was going to offer me like more money. And I was just kind of glad I liked my job and very grateful I had this tech job. But there were so many things that I wanted to do. And I was like sucked in to my salary, like leaving and choosing to not know how much I was going to make or make significantly less or whatever, just felt like I wasn't going to ever do that. And when I was laid off, I was like, oh, maybe now I can figure out what I want to do. And my mind didn't immediately go to how do I replace my salary? It was more so like, what do I really need to live? And then how do I want to spend my time? Because I feel like I can figure that out. Like, I'll be able to pull some stuff together and pay the bills. And if I need to wait tables or whatever, like I was kind of okay with figuring that out. But I knew that was only because I was like laid off. I don't know. Does that resonate at all for you in terms of looking for something and changing maybe what you needed in a job?
Oh my gosh. That resonates so much, Emily. And I feel like you touch on such an important thing. You don't realize what you need until it smacks you right in the face. And you're like, cause you never would have made that change. You never would have left. And I'm in that same boat. I would have not left at all. I had the company I worked for was great. It was a very cushy job. It was an interesting job. I worked with cool stuff and cool people. I never would have left, but also I didn't ever think that I had the option to leave. I just thought you work, you have a salary, you work towards a salary. Like I didn't ever think that there was something else outside of it. Like just never occurred to me, just didn't occur. So when I got laid off too, it was very much like, oh my gosh, but I also didn't think at that moment that oh, maybe I could do something creative. That didn't cross my mind at all. My initial reaction was, honestly, I have a big network. It'll be easy to find a job. I wasn't super concerned at first until 400 job rejections later. I was like, wait a second, this is not working the way that I thought. And so I feel like kind of having to reframe happened after that. And that was also part of this journey into this that I didn't know that I really needed to lean into this entrepreneurial, creative side of myself that has all of the skills and tools available, but I just didn't believe that I did. And sometimes I still kind of in that, it's a little challenging sometimes, but yeah, it was just really that moment that it woke me up in a way I didn't know that I needed to. And it sounds like it was like that for you too.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I didn't apply to a lot of things because I was worried that if I started applying, I was going to be depressed because I wasn't hearing anything. I swear, I'm not even joking. And, I was laid off November 10th. So I kind of looked at it as it's the holidays. I live in a cold weather state. I'm going to do this wintering, I paid a company to update my resume, make a couple versions because I've done so many different types of things. And then I was just talking to people, thinking about how I wanted to spend my time. And then I started, getting the show concept out there in front of people to see, do we think this has traction? And I still think I have my resume up on sites and I sometimes get calls. But the reason I'm not looking for jobs that I really would want to apply for is because I'm afraid that it's going to be the perfect fit on paper. I'm going to send my stuff and either I don't even get talked to. That would just be an ego bruise. And, I keep saying when the seasons change to summer, maybe I'll feel different and I'll want to start looking for something. But I think it's so interesting how you went through this period and it pushed you into this creative side of things. Do you remember a point once you started doing the furniture where finding this full-time tech job didn't become this behemoth of a goal and it maybe shifted? Because you still do some work in tech. It's just at a much different level now, current day. Is that right?
Yes, totally. And it really shifted when I started to have more people bringing me pieces and I was taking on more client projects. And that really made me realize that there was a path for me outside of this traditional work box that I had built in my mind. And I was just I never would have thought that. And so, yeah, I have a role now. I work for a company where I'm in a marketing team, but I had 20 years of customer experience, leadership experience. And so the roles that typically LinkedIn would send me are like high roles. And I was like, yeah, no, that's a soul killer. I am not doing those. Nothing of interest. So when I had an opportunity, with a friend who works at the company, it's a very entry level role, and it's something that I can do very well because I have a lot of the experience, but it's also nothing that is like burning my soul. The company is flexible, and, there's a little bit of going into an office, which I'm not a fan of, but it's just like, okay, I know this is a stop on my path. This is helping me because I like to call it the investor in my dreams. I am grateful for this company, and I'm really grateful for the paycheck, but it's not what I want to do. Ultimately, what I want to do is something very different. And a lot of people tell me, ooh, you shouldn't say things like that. What if they hear that? Or what if another future employer hears that? I'm like, you know what? If they appreciate me as their employee, they'll support me as a whole human. If they don't, I don't want to work there then. And so I'm not, leaving the team hanging. I'm not doing things that are, I'm getting my work done and I'm doing it well. And so I feel like I can show up there, and then every single weekend I am in my garage workshop building my furniture business. I post a lot of content on my Instagram and TikTok, and I have a blast. And this is definitely a step on the path. Like I don't know what it's going to look like moving forward. I dream of a big warehouse where I can have my furniture pieces.
Yes.
I can have a storage space. I can have a place where I can coach and train people, where I have so many friends in apartments and they're like, I'd love to work on this dresser, but I don't have the space. I'm like, imagine if I could say, yeah, bring it over, or I'll send my cute little van over to pick it up. And, you could bring it in this space. We could work on it together. And then after we're done working, we could, I don't know, walk over to a brewery and grab a drink or something. Like, I just feel like there's something there with music, like having a little space for local artists to play. And like, music is just such a big part of everything too. And like, I see it in my head, and I've saw it for a long time. And sometimes I feel a little delusional, but I'm like, no, it's real, it's there, and it's going to happen. And this is just a part on the step. And so if there's any advice that I could share with someone, is like, you don't always have to take a job for it to be the end all be all. You can take a job to literally just pay the bills while building something on the side. And that is perfectly okay. Because at the end of the day, with this job, the day job that I have, I like to call it, what matters mostly to me are the relationships that I build there. It's people. It's still people at the end of the day. I'm not going to leave them hanging. I'm going to do a great job, but also, I know what matters to me on my career path and what makes the most sense. And I think a lot of us are afraid to talk about that. A lot of us are afraid to be okay with a job not being something we love. And like, yeah, no, it can just be what it is. And cause you scroll on LinkedIn, everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited. I love this job. I'm like, this is my life. And I'm like, cool, that's awesome for you. But that's not the way I roll anymore. And I'm not going to show up and hide that, because if it gives anyone permission, going back to what you had said before, just be okay with having a job that pays the bills, show up and do a good job, and build your dream on the side, and do not stop. Do not stop. Like, don't let that go. That's a special thing to be doing. You don't have to burn yourself out too. There's going to be limitations that you have to put, and there's going to be still some sacrifices that you have to make, but do not let it go. Let it evolve into something new if it needs to, but don't let it go.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I mean, any job, if you're working for someone else and not yourself, it's an arrangement, right? And it's great when you like your job and you like it so much, you enjoy doing it, you spend all this extra time. But the reality is, like, you get paid an amount, whether it's per hour or salaried or whatever, to do a certain job. And if that's the exchange, for some people, that's not fulfilling. But then at different stages in your life, that role can totally shift. And I love the concept of doing something that is reliable, steady income. It's not burning you out. It's actually fun for you to interact with people, and you're able to do your passion and build it into a business because you don't feel this stress that, like, the success or failure of the furniture determines if you can eat. And I think some people, they don't identify in themselves what the most important driver is, right? Like, I'm kind of like you in the sense that I need to be making money in some way in order to pursue this passion project. and not be stressed all the time thinking about how this is going to monetize. And for other people, it's hard to like do a job where you're making money and try to do your side thing, but you can do that in a spectrum. Like you can be doing your side thing and your work can be 70% and then it can shift to 50. But we always need to think about jobs as like this contractual agreement. And if you're upholding your end when it comes to like truly what the job is and not going above and beyond because you love it so much, I think that works out better for everyone. Because I mean, I know in my 20s, before I knew I had bipolar disorder, which is kind of what shifted my like work situation or how I perceived it, I got like true joy out of the fact that my job was like everything. It was so validating for me in my 20s. And I think a lot of people feel that way if they kind of grow up how we did, which is like this drive and achievement, right? And then as life starts to happen, it does shift. And not for everyone, but there's an element of like, it's black and white when you're younger and it becomes like a spectrum and a range as you get older. But I'm really glad that you shared that you have this role now, because I think for some people, they look at entrepreneurship like it's successful if they don't have a day job anymore. And I don't necessarily know that that's the North Star for everyone. Or you said this is a period of time on your roadmap. I need to talk about this like warehouse situation because I feel like you need to do it. Have you looked at all into like spaces or anything?
Oh my gosh, so funny. I mean, I've dabbled. I've definitely dabbled. I am very intimidated by rent prices. I mean, it's quite expensive. Yeah, it's quite expensive in San Diego. It's not necessarily realistic at this point. I think I'm also very intimidated by other types of, I mean, everything, every business expense there is, insurance and things like that, liability. It's very expensive. And I know it's possible, but I would need a good amount of startup money. And I'm not really feeling like I want to go get a loan right this second. I'm just kind of like, let's see what happens, which, there'll probably be a moment where I'm way more inspired to push, a little bit more, but yeah.
Well, something will happen. Like the universe will do something that'll make you feel like movement to the next stage. Not that we need to turn this into like my little brainstorm session, but I'm a firm believer that, I mean, a person like you have such an amazing personality. You could just start by teaming up or partnering with someone who has their own space, but they don't use it all of the time. Like, I don't know. I'm just dreaming of you doing like little classes where people bring their own furniture and work on them and you're like going around and showing them. And you wouldn't necessarily need your own space to do that. You would maybe just need a space that's like a couple hours on the same night every week or something.
Yeah. So you know what? It's, that's a really great way to look at it. And I love this. Let's keep this brainstorming.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be thinking of ideas later. I'm going to send them to you. Okay. No, I just love like you clearly have such a passion for it. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of people would love to do more of, that tactile, and they're maybe afraid to even just try because they don't know what they're doing. Like you went through that. Talk a little bit about that and how you kind of like educated yourself. And I feel like that's a confidence builder when you learn a skill like that.
It totally is. It totally is. And I'm not afraid to ask questions or admit when I don't know something. So I had no problem sliding into someone's DMs who I've been following doing this and asking them questions. I had no problem cornering the Home Depot employee being like, what should I buy? I had no problem being the weird person who was like talking to my friends' dads. I was just like, I'm going to ask questions because that's the only way to learn. But the other part of it was, there comes a time where someone can tell you only so much. You got to do it and you got to mess up. And there were so many times where I was like, oh, I would mess up. And then I was like, okay, now I got to do this over again. And that way it just sticks in my head. And so I feel like to do any of these things, whether it's furniture, whether it's, I don't know, any type of thing that you're going to start, you got to ask questions. You got to lean into other people's wisdom. And you got to make a bunch of mistakes. Like you just got to do it. But I get so many DMs from people, specifically women who are like, man, I don't even know how to use an orbital sander. How do you do that? Or I have friends who, live in different parts of the country, or people message me and they're like, I want to work on this table, but I wish you were here to do it. And I was like, I'll create the plan for you. I've literally created PDF guides with step-by-step of how to make over their projects. They'll follow it. They'll text me. They'll send me videos and how they're doing it or ask questions. And then they show up with this amazing project. And I'm like, that is so cool. That really lights me up. And like, if I could take something that I didn't know how to do, and now I can create things, and then I can show others how to do it and have them feel that same way. I'm like, that's so freaking cool. Like, yeah.
You got to create something where they upload and then they pay and they get their instructions.
That would be, I mean,
you're sitting on a couple gold mines here, Jenny. There's a couple gold mines.
Definitely are. I think there is something so magical here with taking these pieces of furniture that are a part of our lives, or, you know, they have history, or a lot of these people reach out. They're like, my grandparents left me this, you know, and who knows how old that piece is. And to be able to make it over to fit into your life, into your story, it becomes a part of that. I always like to say, like, this used to be a tree. Like, you know, a lot of this stuff, it used to be a tree in a forest somewhere. And I just think there's something real cool about that, and being able to give it that second chance that otherwise it would have just sat and rot in the landfill, and that sucks. And
yeah. Well, let's touch on that a little bit. I feel like, you know, I'm a millennial, so I grew up learning about environment and eco, you know, all that stuff, right? We have all these things in our mind. I don't think about furniture as much as I do like clothing and things like that, but it is important to think about the fact that there's so much sustainability out there as that's possible. Can you just talk a little bit about, like, I mean, I'm going to link in the show notes some examples, but you take pieces and they look way different. Like, I think there's a misconception sometimes. Oh, I don't like that wood color, or, oh, I don't like that whatever. And these little tweaks can make a really old piece look like it fits with whatever vibe you currently have.
Right. It's really whatever you think. When people reach out to me, they're like, can you fix this for me? I'm like, well, tell me what your vision is. And I ask them to, like, send me things that you've seen online that you love. Even if they're mismatched or not the same piece, I can bring it to life for you in the way that you want. And that's really it. It's like, yeah, it might be this old orangey wood, but if you want it lighter, or if you want it darker, or you want it like bright pink, like, it's possible. And so I feel like that is something that most people just think, ugh, I don't know. I don't know what it would look like. And then just starting to talk to them, they're able to really picture that vision. And with, like, you know, AI, I don't know. I sometimes will take their piece and take the original picture they send me and put in to the AI tool, like, what they want it to look like. And it pops out what it could, like, the potential. And then they see it and they're like, wow, like, that's for real. And then I bring it to life and I make it happen. And like, when they show up and pick it up, it's the coolest thing. They're just like, wait, that's real. And so really being able to think big and use what we have. Because fast furniture, like, just like clothes, like, it's, you know, it is very easy to go onto a big brand and pick something up, and it might last for a couple of years, and that's cool. But a lot of those pieces of furniture, when they're, you know, no longer good, they will not decompose in the landfill. And there really isn't much to do with them. And that is really disappointing. And there's a lot of really good wood furniture out there that we could use instead. And there's so many people doing cool furniture flipping too. Like, I mean, in your town somewhere, if you just go on Instagram and search for someone, like, no matter where you are, those are the people you want to hire. It's amazing out there.
It really is. Okay, talk a little bit about this online, like, community, because you've built your own, but it sounds like you were always observing and slipping into DMs. So what has that meant to you on your journey? Like, how has that kind of fueled this whole furniture business, and how have you used that as a positive in, like, your life and in building the business?
Well, I will be very honest with you. I'm like, this is the part that surprises me the most. I never in a million years saw the community coming out of this. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple different paths here, but the first one is the furniture flipper community. And it's on Instagram. That's usually where I'm connected there, but also on TikTok. Seeing other people create, and then you celebrate their success. They celebrate your success. You can answer each other's questions. They answer my questions. We cheer each other on through life events and stuff. And we've never even met, but the level of support of this community is like, it's amazing. I have learned so much and I've been able to ask so many questions and vice versa, product recommendations, whatever it is. It is a magical thing that I never realized because I was just an observer before, as you mentioned. The other element of community is within my community here in San Diego of, I call it my curb find crew now, because I literally will get text messages, sometimes multiple, about the same piece of furniture because people see it, neighbors see it, or friends see it. And they're like, you got to go get this. This is so good. This is so good. And so I literally like that level of community and how excited they get following along on, the little makeover journey. I always post all that fun stuff. And like, it's really cool to see people get so excited about these things. So there's kind of these two pieces, but then the third one is literally just people who are like, I want you to make this over for me. And the community that's built from that is incredibly special too, because then I'm creating something that's a part of their life, a part of their story. And they're so grateful for it. And I just feel like I get a little emotional sometimes of just like how cool that is to be a part of that. So yeah, I never saw that coming.
I love it. And I mean, what I've kind of learned, especially after being laid off, is like so much of my interaction was on my computer every day. Like I was busy talking to people all day, but not really in person like I used to. And when my day calendar got so much lighter with meetings, it was like even just going to a coffee shop and interacting with the barista and then like sitting and doing my work on something was good. Or like I joined an online community of people on Discord and I'd never really done that before. Like just finding these spaces where I could connect with other people and it fills your cup, Sometimes it fills your cup because it's giving you more business or a new customer, but sometimes it's just like talking to other people. We underestimate how much that can kind of give us that value and make us feel good too.
Yes, totally. Totally.
Okay, I feel like I need to ask you a little bit about in the phase of like showing up online and talking about what you're rehabbing and all of that. Was that like a thing you had to like get over and start doing? Did it come naturally to you? I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs they don't like talking about themselves online.
You know what? I do know a lot of people feel that way. I am weird in the way where I love it and not in like, I never wanted like a selfish way, but I've always loved public speaking. I used to perform in a band. I would sing and play guitar. So I feel like I've always kind of had that in me. So I'm a weirdo like that, but I have no problems doing it. Sometimes to the point where I feel like I might be a little TMI. Like if you follow me on whatever social thing, you'll see more of like, I don't know, TMI type of posts where I'm sharing things that they're very personal because I feel like I can and I feel like I want to because I know when I see posts like that by other people, I feel less alone. And I want to, if I can do that by sharing something like that, it helps me hopefully help others. And so that's really my intention with that. But also it's just fun. I just think there's so many things that are so scripted on social media. And so, I mean, no offense to anybody. They're just sometimes so blah. And I'm like, I want to see more of you and your story. And so I just try to be that and really show up. And some people, cool. Some people like it. Some people are like, that's a little too quirky for me. Okay, bye. But like, that's okay. Like we all find our tribe. And I think that's the thing. We're not supposed to be appealing to everybody. And I do not have, I have zero interest in appealing to everybody. I want to show up as my authentic self, and the folks that are along for that ride and who also show up that way for me, that's where it lands. And so, yeah, I love it. I want to do more speaking. I've done some speaking events, sharing my story, and I love it. It is so freaking cool. And I really want to do that more as well, because if I can, I don't know, I just feel like I have an important responsibility to take what I went through and share with others in hopes that maybe it will help them on their path.
Absolutely. And you're a great messenger. I mean, so many people live through experiences and these pivots, but they don't have, maybe the natural talent to put it into a story or formulate it in a way that like you can reflect on. Cause sometimes stuff just feels hard, like sometimes the hard times are not fun to have some reflective learning every time. And so when you do get to that space in your own life and you do feel comfortable sharing, I think it has such an impact. So it's amazing that you do that. Do you feel like right now in life you have certain things that you kind of do to stay grounded or like balance your time? I mean, it sounds like you just love the furniture stuff, so it refuels you, but do you ever kind of have to be mindful of how you're spending your time, the day job, the furniture job, any sort of tug and pull there?
Oh, 100%. There is a lot of, I don't want to know if strategy is the right word that goes into it, but I try to be intentional because I don't want to get burnt out. Furniture work is a lot of work and I don't want to burn out from that either. So I am very intentional and I have I do my best with the strategy and try to do it well. But yeah, the day job is the day job. I close my computer at 5 p.m. I am not going back on. I'm not checking my emails. I'm not doing anything like that. Furniture is really specific to the weekend. I don't work on it during the week unless, it's after hours and I'm selling something or someone's picking something up. But it is very intentional to be Sunday is my work day, for example. And I am in that garage for about 8 to 10 hours. And so Saturday, I'm very intentional, like to spend time with my partner and my dog. And, throughout the week, I'm very big into, fitness. I really stay active. And so I'm very intentional about my workout routine. I'm very intentional about doing movement that really makes me feel grounded. Talking about that, like I don't work out just to work out. I'm like, it has to make me feel good in my mind, body, and spirit. But also like I'm in bed by like 8:30. I am not someone who stays up late. I love my sleep. I am a better person when I sleep, and that might make me lame, but like you get it. It's like, it's just sleep. So I'm very intentional about things, but also I set very strong boundaries. Also, I don't know if it's the same for you, Emily, but perimenopause is literally kind of shifting my brain. And so I'm trying to be very intuitive about, okay, what do I need right now? Because it might be different than what I needed a year ago or 3 years ago or whatever, things like that. And so being very intentional and giving myself the grace to be like, okay, I didn't do that great today, but tomorrow maybe I'll wake up and I'll do a little bit better. And so just being okay with not having everything done. There was an event that I was at recently and this woman raised her hand and she was just like, okay, but wait, how do you do all the things and get enough protein and do this and drink all the water and all that? I was like, I just don't. Like, if you don't do it, it's okay. Like you're alive still. You're still breathing. Okay. Like your heart's still humming. Like it's okay if you didn't get enough protein that day. Like it's okay. Like, you don't have to do all the things and just be intentional about the things that you do. And that's really kind of what I try to lean into because I don't want to fry again.
Well, and I think some people, they don't even realize how trying to do the right thing or take care of themselves is like mentally taxing. I tell people all the time, like there's a lot of things I do to prioritize my mental health and make sure I'm not like in a, alert zone for going into an episode for bipolar or something, but I'm not the best at eating well. Like that's just not an area that I naturally do a good job in. And I used to like hyperfixate, like I would do Whole30 and I was like doing all of these things, but it would be so emotionally and mentally exhausting. And so now I try to do like layers of habit type stuff. So, we drink AG1, we make a smoothie every morning with spinach in it, like doing these things to stack at the start of the day and not be all day on myself. What are you going to eat? Is that good? Is that bad? Like, I don't want to have that internal dialogue about putting value, good or bad, on food. But there's other things you're never going to get me to stop doing, like my sleep. I mean, I take medication, so I have the benefit of like, even if life is crazy, I still can get really good sleep. But I have to make decisions sometimes like, I don't go on some of my extended family vacations anymore because they're, on a boat until 1 a.m. drinking and I'm trying to be sleeping. Those are little things that have shifted as I've gotten older, had my diagnosis, whatever. But you're absolutely right that you can't be doing everything to always take care of yourself. And you do need to pick and choose the ones that are right and keep you balanced without overtaxing yourself. And, like beating on yourself about not doing something is so not helpful,
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like I need to ask if there's any tips or tricks in your toolbox for these periods where you're kind of pushing through. It sounds like structure and routine is really valuable for you, but do you have any tips that you've acquired over the years? Like, you ever wake up and you're just thinking, not today? Like, how do you reset when stuff is just not going well and it kind of feels like it's piling up? Is there something you do to either disconnect or like reconnect with yourself, put a pause on things? Like, how do you adjust when things feel like they might be not right?
Ooh, that is such a great question, because it is true. Routine, consistency, things like that are very important to me. And I'm very routine and consistency driven. So when I wake up in the morning and the alarm goes off at 5:45 and I'm like, ooh, I'm just not feeling like working out today. Like, this actually just happened, the other day. Woke up and I just, maybe it's a TMI. I just had really bad cramps and I was like, I'm not going to be able to work out today. And so I went through this thing in my mind where I could push myself. I could keep going. I could just push through it. And I was like, wait, that's not who I am anymore. And so I continue to have to say that to myself, because I think all of these things, no matter what it is that we're trying to push ourselves through, I think really understanding what your values are, like, for me, like taking care, like health is so important to me, because I've seen, with a lot of my family members that have passed, like I've seen what happens and I want to do my best there. And so what matters to me are my values. And so by giving myself permission to not push through it and to not go work out and whatever it is, that's okay. Remember my why, remember my values, and tune into that. And it sounds like that sounds so cheesy and maybe a little like, I don't know. I didn't read that out of a book or anything like that. Just literally is something that I have found that has given me the okay, because and I really appreciate you, Emily, talking about bipolar disorder, because I feel like having conversations about that is so important, because there's a stigma attached to it. Sometimes we don't want people to know, but I had an eating disorder in my 20s. And it is something that if I wouldn't have gotten help for it, I might not be here. And so I feel like by remembering where we came from and remembering who we are and remembering these limitations and work that we've done to really support ourselves, when we have those moments when it's like, "Ooh, I don't want to do this right now," you have to ask yourself, okay, well, then don't do it. But I know also that the next day I'm going to wake up and I will do it. And I think that's the difference, because if we don't do it one day, sometimes we get afraid that it's going to avalanche into every day, but not being so black and white about it. There is a gray area where it's okay if it's one day. It's okay. Do it tomorrow. Or whatever. It doesn't, not even working. Like anything. It's just, sometimes we don't want to, and we have to decide what matters, if we're going to push through or if we're going to give ourselves that grace. And it's totally okay to give ourselves that grace and know we could pick up those boots and go again the next day.
Yeah. And I think sometimes even just like the permission slip to know that you can cancel or reschedule things. Like, you don't even need to cancel or reschedule half the time, but if you wake up thinking that you can, that frees up that mental space, or at least that's what I've experienced. You have shared so much valuable stuff. Was there anything that you maybe wanted to share about your journey, or, kind of where you're at now in terms of reflecting on things you've gone through? Anything I didn't tee you up to share with people?
Well, I think the last thing, first of all of your questions and your guidance throughout this was amazing. And I really hope that there is something that someone listening in was able to pick up on. But one last thing I want to leave with is, I get the question, or maybe not a question, but a comment from a lot of people where they're like, "Oh, I wish I could find my thing like you did." Like, people tell me this and I look at them and I'm just like, I literally found it in the trash. Like, I found the furniture is in the trash. Like, I literally found my thing in the trash. I never would have thought to look there. It came out of a very dark place. And so when people are looking for their thing, quote unquote thing to do, I want to do something on the side, but I never would know what to start. I think we have to take a step back and be like, it's not going to be in the place we're expecting. Or if it is, maybe it's about your self-belief in it or whatever it is. But I just wanted to hit that home, because we don't have to go searching it on this big treasure hunt for something that we think, or scroll on TikTok or buy into some idea. Like, we might already have it right under our noses. And it's going to surprise you so much. And it might just be something in the trash. So
well, and I always say, like, start with spending your time doing something you like or are interested in. Like, if you're thinking about how to become rich, that's probably not going to be the best way to find like what your thing is, right? So maybe start with a little hobby or something to spend your idle brain time, and then it could turn into something, you know? So that's great advice. Okay, let's tell everyone where they can follow your work, where they can see everything you're doing. Give us all the places.
Amazing, amazing. Well, you can find me online at sandiegofurnitureflipper.com. I am also on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube under that same handle, San Diego Furniture Flipper. I'm on LinkedIn too. If you're there, you can connect with me, Jenny Dempsey. And yeah, I really hope that there was something that can help someone. And if you have any questions, just know you can slide into my DMs anytime and I will gladly chat. So
I love it. Thank you so much for the time today. This has been amazing. I took a lot of great stuff from it. So there is no doubt in my mind that the listeners did too. And I don't know, we might have to have you back on. This was very, very impactful. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This means so much. It's so cool to be here with you. Thank you, Emily.
I love when people I know connect me to new people that I meet. So this was a great connection.
Monica, Jess, Jeff, thank you.
Yes, exactly. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel or whatever listening platform you're on, and head to successrywrittenshow.com. You can read episode articles, subscribe to the newsletter, or get in touch with me by emailing emily@successrywrittenshow.com. And make sure to check out Jenny's work by going to sandiegofurnitureflipper.com, or check her out on social media at San Diego Furniture Flipper. We'll see you next time.